If you look at this diagram, it's a diagram of a parking place, an accessible parking place. And you have a couple of options here. But first, before we mention that, we have 9 feet of clearance for the car on both sides here. And this is what we're looking at. And you have 9 feet over here. Now, the most important part is this area right here. And what this diagram is showing us that for a standard typical accessible parking stall, it needs to be 5 feet. Now, for this particular item that we're talking about, van accessible spaces, and this is extremely important, that it needs to be 8 feet minimum for the parking stall. So basically, when a van pulls in, and by the way, I have never seen a van that has a ramp on the left side. It's always on the right side. So this space right here is your van space, not necessarily this one. So if you park in here and a person comes out here, it gives them plenty of clearance to slow down, because a lot of ramps are angled, and so sometimes people pick up speed. But also the lift may come down, and they need to come off, have plenty of clearance to come off and not hit the other vehicle, and then actually make a turn and head towards the accessible pathway this way, where there's a curb cut, which is really wonderful to have it here because it gives people access, a safe pathway and access to this sidewalk. And instead of coming out this way to go find the curb cut or some access into the parking lot, which is a little bit more unsafe. So take that in mind. And one last thing, use this diagram, and you can click below and print it off for your own use. But when you hire a company or you do it yourself, make sure that somebody's overseeing the project, because even in the professional paving companies and the painters will overlook some of the details that are on this diagram. So I would highly recommend that somebody on your group or your committee or somebody in your church would take these diagrams and make sure that the accessible parking is marked off properly.